welcome to Game Set Matchup, the podcast where we talk everything partnerships, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Welcome to Game Set Matchup, the podcast where we discuss all things partnerships. Brought to you live from Money20 here in Amsterdam. I'm your host, Greg Watts, and I'm joined today by my co-host and CEO of Finder, Jenny James. And please welcome our guest today, Alex Preece, CEO of the world's leading rewards and incentive management platform, Tillo. Alex, hello and welcome back, I might add, for your second time on Game Set Matchup.
Privilege. Thank you, Greg. Honestly, lovely to be back and talking to you in this super cool venue.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very cool. So what have your highlights of M2020 been so far?
So far, I am leading the charge on Batak on our stand, and there was a 17-year-old racing car driver that does Formula E who thought he could beat me. Think again.
And he couldn't.
The old man that's turning 40 this year can still beat
40
him.
Now? Gosh.
Well, 40 in October.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good start.
That's the highlight.
Well,
and the parties, if you've never been here before, it's just there's nothing like it.
Mm-hmm.
No,
it's incredible,
intense.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Fostering partnerships, fostering new relationships, fostering the ability to just connect in this super cool city.
Well, that's a lovely start to an introduction. So perhaps you can tell our listeners and our guests, who are all around, a little bit more about who you are, your background, and Tillo.
Yep, I'll keep it brief. Co-founder and CEO of a company called Tillo. We're an embedded reward, loyalty and acquisition business that sort of powers digital gift cards. So where do I go back? So we're a 7-year-old business. I sort of started my days when I was 16, jumping out of airplanes in the military.
I love that.
Which I
Hold that
still
thought.
have a...
We're going to come on to that.
Yeah,
as well.
we'll come on to that, yeah. But yeah, found myself into fintech through lots of weird and wonderful ways, and a weird and wonderful winding journey, if you will, to kind of get to this place of pioneering the ability for scale-ups and fintechs to connect to 2,000 brands all over the world now. So we're almost like Stripe, but for gift cards. So we've got open banking providers like Banked, through to Revolut, Klarna, PayPal, Honey, Quidco, Top Cashback. There's a whole list of about 150 partners who we're processing north of $1.5 billion worth of cards through the platform now, which is just crazy to think that what we've achieved in such a short amount of time. Never in a million years I thought we'd be doing this sort of thing with the team that we've got in Austin, Texas, and also in Brighton and Hove in the UK. I sort of sit within the strategic commercial bit of product marketing and sales front, the people back office that's taking care of some very smart people in the business. But I enjoy the commercial hustle, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Well, that leads us on very nicely to how did you become an entrepreneur? What was your career path to that point? And what do you think set you up in good stead to move into the daunting world of entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
And if I may add, and how did you make the leap, no pun intended, from jumping out of planes to entrepreneur? And I also add, this isn't your first gig. This is your second or third business, because you're already an exited entrepreneur. Correct?
Second. Yeah, appreciate that, Greg.
Yeah, take us back.
Good memory. So my dad is an Iranian. He came over in 1979 when the revolution happened. He met my mum, and then just had this incredible work ethic, like with my mum. He came here with nothing, studied English. He didn't really speak anything. I think he could just say thank you very much. So I don't know what my mum and dad were sort of doing back then, other than him just saying thank you very much.
But it worked.
Yeah,
be grateful.
I know. And 4 kids later, they create. He went into the restaurant sort of hospitality industry, and sort of just seeing him just work, and my mum just worked really hard. So I think just seeing that all the time, no vacations, no holidays, no sort of time off, no. Just this ethic of putting food on the table, just all the time. So seeing that all the time sort of led me to think that, the only way you can control your own destiny is by doing something yourself. But I had no idea that I was going to do that. I didn't think I was going to own my own business. I just was quite confused at school, left school with no qualifications or anything like that, but managed to get into the British Army. So my granddad was in it for 24 years. My brother followed me into the military.
Alex, if I can just pause. Your granddad who just received what?
Well, he so we went to a recent dinner. When was that? About 4 weeks ago, I think you saw that. And yeah, we were there. I just couldn't believe like what we were doing. We were at this Victoria Cross and George Cross dinner association. Who my friend, very close friend of mine, who I joined the military with actually, he unfortunately was blown up in Iraq and was awarded the George Cross, which is an incredible act of bravery. So he was given this, and we were invited. So I was invited, and I thought, you know what a cool thing to do. My granddad's, you know, he's 85, so I thought I'll bring him to this dinner, and my friends in the back of this quite stuffy room, quite a big room, stuffy, old, big paintings on the wall, the size of a small house, and we're in there. And my friends in the corner are going, Al, come over here, Al, come over here. And I'm kind of cutting through to sort of meet him and say hello to him. And then there's Princess Anne, Her Royal Highness Princess Royal was there. And he's like, oh, Alex, this is Princess Anne. And I'm like, all right, okay, yeah. And I had 10 minutes with her just talking about business, talking about school, talking about inspiring the younger generation, which she does an incredible job of, actually. So it was amazing to sort of be there and sort of share the evening with some incredibly brave Victoria Cross and George Cross awarded people that have done incredible things, not just in the military. There were civilians there that had done incredible things with terrorist acts, and they've sort of jumped in and helped people. But it was really cool. But like the military thing was always been in my heritage like that. Yeah. My granddad was in it. My both grandfathers were in it. My dad didn't follow that suit, but going in there was life-changing in terms of discipline, competitiveness, you know, driving that sort of need to work hard, get grit.
Yeah.
Which all leads into building great partnerships into your business. If you're going to, you know, start a company, you need to learn the ability to, you know, well, first off, be resilient because you're going to get no quite a lot. And then, you know, I was in there, I went to Iraq, did Bosnia, did Iraq as active tours, and then realised that this wasn't for me. Being told what to do wasn't really something that I enjoyed at 21. It served me okay at the start, and then, you know, it just wasn't for me. Left after 7 years service, and then decided to start an online sort of e-commerce website, which started with me going to the bank and borrowing £25,000, pretending it was for a car loan, spending on the business. It went bankrupt a year later. Me personally, that is, not the business, which was just an incredible life learning.
Yeah.
You know, the UK is just incredible. Like, you can really sort of fall down and pick yourself back up again, and it's okay. Dust yourself off, learn from it, and just move on. So the journey of military to Tillo is lots of little mini learnings, failures, mini learnings along the way. Perfect timing in certain instances and not so much in other areas. Yeah. You know, started up first proper company with my business partner and best mate, saw what was going on in Chicago in America with Groupon. We're like, that's an incredible business. Why don't we just start that in the UK? Did that. Really lucky that we managed to sell it 8 months later.
To Quidco?
To Money Supermarket PLC, world's biggest comparison website, in a transaction that was reported to the city for £11 million. We didn't get all that money, but it was reported to the city. We did all right out of it. And then Money Supermarket subsequently bought Quidco. They bought Money Saving Expert, huge business, market cap of like nearly £4 billion, I think. That was a huge life learning. You know, business didn't go to plan. We scaled it. It did okay. Corporate marriage wasn't for us. Went into mobile payments. And that is where the learnings of Tillo sort of came around. And the learning of partnerships, if I'm being really honest. It was about sort of learning, how do you get scale in B2B? How do you get scale in these certain industries? And it's about creating long-lasting relationships and partnerships. Yeah. And that takes a long time. You can't just do everything online. You know, I'll come on to that probably in a bit. But yeah, that journey was long. And then you know, the difficulty of trying to procure gift cards for rewards and incentives with loyalty. That's where we try to do it ourselves. We can just go and speak to some of the incumbents out there and connect to them, but you weren't able to do that. It was all physically dominated. It was all plastic cards, loaded, 2 days to wait for that sort of thing to happen. We're like, well, you order your Deliveroo instantly, you put your Netflix on immediately, you order your cab immediately. Why can't you just issue a card to someone instantly? Yeah. And then that's where the naivety set in to start a company came out of it.
You say naivety, some people would say entrepreneurial or opportunity, absolutely.
Yeah. I know, I don't ever, it's a grand thing. It sounds really good. I mean, opportunity first, I think this could be interesting, this could pay the bills, this could be quite cool. We'll keep it small. Never need to get more than 10, 15 people in the business. Now we're nearly 100 and it's like, how many more people do we need? Yeah. But yeah, it starts off with just a little itch, doesn't it? And how can you solve that? Then it grows. And fortunately, we're in an industry that's growing quite quickly. There's this hotbed of ecosystem of honeypot, if you will, of opportunity, of innovation happening in this space. And we're right in the epicenter of it.
It's exciting. Well, with that thought in mind, what would you say for Tillo makes for a gold star partnership or a winning deal?
Yeah, good question. I think the first thing that comes to my head, if I think like just coming out with it, it's where value is reciprocated on both sides.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's the first thing that comes to my head. Second, I think that has to be done in person to some extent. We've done deals with people, very large companies. Some of the biggest deals that we've done have been in COVID, and we've not met those people. Now, I would argue, if we hadn't made the effort to meet them when we could, that partnership might not be as strong as what it is today. So I think here, having a stand, being opening that ability to shake hands, sit down and have a coffee, it's really powerful.
I think we, as you know, we started off in the pandemic, and we were all about facilitating partnerships virtually. But we would also advocate so passionately the power of physically being together as well. You can't replicate that online. I think a lot of people perhaps thought that was possible, but I don't think it is.
It's also the building of the relationship, isn't it? You can meet initially online, but you need those physical contacts to build that relationship.
And I think businesses like yours are doing a good job of bringing those people together because it's not easy to do that. We're all being spammed on LinkedIn from these automated things, and now ChatGPT's helping with that on scale. And you don't know what's real, what isn't. I had an email only the other day through something quite important, and the person had forgotten to put this is in an email chain. So I'm talking to this person. I haven't spoken to them on the telephone. And then the response to one of their note, it actually had, do you want to regenerate the response? So they copy and paste this reply, and it's still they hadn't removed this point at the bottom, which come from ChatGPT. I think people just have this open as a personal assistant. They just go, just write that email for me, would you? And it's just, does that create a long-lasting partnership? No, it doesn't.
Not if you haven't bothered to write a 5-minute email to me. It's not compelling in terms of how much effort you're putting in. Absolutely.
Well, I think the other thing that comes into it is doing your homework, isn't it? With anything. If you're doing your homework, I had, we're not raising any money. We don't intend to raise any money anytime soon. That said, there's a few businesses that reach out and I wouldn't mind having a chat with you. And this one gentleman from this one firm sent this really personalised note. And you could tell, I'm a salesman, when you see that someone's put the effort in, you're like, I need to respond to that. That's interesting. Absolutely. And it sparked up a bit of friendship on that. But it's that's a cold email straight into someone's inbox, trying to get their attention when there's we all know we're all busy people. Yep. How do you cipher through it all? And it's like, that's interesting. They've actually really taken the time to think about wanting to work with us, which is interesting.
Why do you think people try and short circuit that and not take the time? Because it's not a great deal of time, is it, really?
No. And I think about all the things that I've done, it all takes time. But then the output of it is significant. You can't shortcut it. There's no way of shortcutting it, I don't think. And if you expect that, I just think that, you're on a hide into nothing in some respect. You become unstuck, and if you're expecting a very busy senior person, like we sell into C-suite, enterprise product, they don't have time. These people don't have time. So the value needs to be reciprocated first off, and two, it's important to take the time to think about where that person's come from and what they're doing, what's their pain points, all those sorts of things. It's important.
So that leads on quite nicely. So you've obviously had a varied career. Thinking back now, if you could take yourself back to the 21 you heading off into the army, what advice would you give yourself in terms of career and then ultimately where you've got to today? What would you like to know starting off on the journey?
Oof, hard. I think it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. And I mean that in that who cares what people think? Who cares about anything really in some respect? Like, if you don't put the effort in, it's sort of on you. If you work hard, something will come out of it eventually. Mm-hmm. Just keep on going. It doesn't really matter going bankrupt, sort of seeing pain and failure or whatever along the way. It doesn't matter. It's how you sort of look at that, I think, isn't
Completely. It? And do you think actually that experience with previous businesses has strengthened you going into Tillo in terms of certain things maybe you're looking out for, you wouldn't do again, or actually things that you perhaps would do more of because you felt like you didn't do as much the first time round?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that come into my mind there. I think one is, I think the first thing that comes to mind when I think about what the learning points is, first thing, always look at the unit economics. Mm-hmm. That people can delay that, but you can't defy it. Yeah. If you don't have a path to make money, that's very, we've been very fortunate that we did our unit economics when we went into this world of loyalty, if you will, or rewards. And, we're looking to get profitable very quickly. We did get profitable very quickly. We're very fortunate. We raised £1 million back in 2016. We've raised no more money ever since. That's sort of the journey that we've taken on that front in trying to build a sustainably growing business which can support our customers, our team, and the future innovation that we're trying to create that will be around for many years to come. So doing your homework on unit economics. 2, can't skimp on good talent. Yeah. I have done that many a time in other businesses and in this business in the early days, and you basically need to pay what people are worth. There's no point chipping someone. If they're looking for £100,000 because they're going to deliver something and that's their market rate, and you try and chip them to 90, that doesn't make someone feel very good. So I think give them what they want and have clear objectives, and it's like you're on good footing to make
partnership.
Things. Yeah. Exactly. I didn't follow that advice early on, if I'm honest. I think 3, culture. I probably didn't look at it that much when I was younger. I didn't really think much of it. It was just, do as you're told sort of attitude, military sort of. Whereas with Tillo, very different. I'm quite proud of the culture and the values that we hold in the business. And that's been trying to be as transparent as you can be in a business. And, I'm proud of what we've created on that front. Yeah.
I mean, that's perfect. You almost read the script. No, it's perfect.
That came up with me on the fly, though. I'll have you know.
It's best things pop up. But that's perfect. We wanted to talk to you about culture. So, you've led teams of soldiers. You've created teams of people to support your growing business. How do you go about creating winning cultures?
Hard.
And what's been your learning actually from, as you say, the tell, which still is necessary from time to time, but from the tell through to perhaps where you are now,
and empowering people
to deliver and to grow you. Would love to hear your thoughts on not your thoughts, how have you done it?
Yeah, I think so. For trust isn't given. Like, I can't remember who said that. There was someone famous I was listening to the other day that said trust it's not given, it's earned. And it's like, it's so true. It is. You don't just trust people. It don't work like that. It's reciprocated. It takes time to do that. So I think that's a given in business, that if someone comes along asking for certain things immediately, it's like, well, I'm running the business. I'm trying to make sure that I'm the steward of it, if you will. And it's important to respect that fact in some respects. I think being as open as you can. If you can't afford, because you're a small business, certain benefits or rewards or certain comp packages that someone's read on LinkedIn that someone's been given, it's like, that's fine. Just be open on that.
Yeah.
We are looking to get this stuff in time, but we need to make some money first. We need these partnerships to come in. We need this to work. We need some revenue in. We need to do this raise or whatever it might be. You know, we recently took the whole team, nearly 90 of us to, not everyone could come, but we took nearly 90 people to Croatia on a 3-day trip.
Incredible.
That's been 7 years in the making. That isn't just it's happened yesterday. It's 7 years to be able to do that sort of cool thing and create memories. And it's a holiday. It wasn't a work thing. It was a pure zip lining, whitewater rafting, lots of drinking, eating, great food and everything like that. But that's 7 years to get to that sort of point, and not every business is able to do that. Can we do it every year? I don't know. It's all about all coming together. And I think just being as open and as clear on the strategy, where you're heading, what you're doing, why certain people have left, why that's
really
okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. People leave.
Yeah.
People have done time
That's
and they'll
life.
move on. People
Yeah.
will leave because they don't particularly feel that they can help a business that's gone from 5 people to 100 to 200. It's like, that's cool for people to hop off.
Completely.
We say about that, you know, sometimes people for seasons.
I think it's,
Yeah.
it's the season of a business.
Yeah.
Some people like the early days. Some people don't feel comfortable with that. Equally, some people don't, feel like they've done their piece to move the business forward and want to go on to another challenge. But that's
I
never a
think
bad thing.
And I think there's a group of people in those that may have not come from that sort of journey
Yeah.
that maybe see people leaving quite often as a bad or negative thing.
Yeah.
And as long as the messaging is very clear and people are being open and honest, then I think you're okay.
Yeah.
As long as you're open and honest, I think you just, obviously you can't talk about why every single person leaves the business, because that's not fair. That's sort of, it's respecting people's privacy. But if you're open and honest about the strategy, thanking people for their work, not just hiding these sorts of things if they leave. It's like, cool, thank you for all your hard work you've done today, and, all the best for the future. I think that's the key, isn't it? Just being honest.
What practical things does Tillo do to instill this, to grow this empowered, high-performing culture? What kind of things do you do on a day-to-day basis?
First off, it's not just done. It's always being improved. You're always looking and reviewing it. I spent a lot of time myself and the team working on the values, and these aren't just words. These are words, meanings, and sentences that have really been wordsmithed and refined and thought out, that is embodied from the top to bottom. So leadership needs to embody those values as well as everyone else in the company.
Absolutely.
And then surveys quarterly, relaying those results if they're good or bad, all those sorts of things into the business, so that people are very clear on where we're looking to get better, certain areas of improvement, happiness ratings, all these sorts of things are just super important on making sure that people, first off, know where their career paths are heading and where that might, stop and start or whatever, or needs for improvement, how Tillo is evolving as a business, or a company is improving as a business. That is consistently is happening. Like the Tillo in a year is different to Tillo. That also needs to happen. The culture will go a certain way, and we need to ensure that continues. And then consistent one-to-ones, like the one-to-ones are important.
Yeah.
You can't just blow them off. I do mine weekly, but it's like half an hour personal, stuff going, what's happening here, managing people, looking after people, making sure that people feel like they can be as open as they can do on each side.
Brilliant. Yeah. And with the evolution, as you say, the evolution of culture, evolution of the business, where do you see partnerships evolving? So in the next year, what's your thoughts around partnerships in general? And then kind of thinking about your business, what part will partnerships play in the next 12 months for you guys?
I think I did allude to it earlier, but, face-to-face, like, so crucial. I think we're going to be doing more. We're doing this Tillo dinner series. It's all around bringing prospects, our own clients, connecting, basically connecting people.
We're doing a similar thing.
Which is
actually.
you're doing exactly the same, doing these panels that you're doing. Like, it's bringing people together to have healthy discussion and actually creating decent, foundations of partnerships that can last a long time. So I think we're doing more traveling. We've never exhibited and having stands anywhere. We've got a stand here, but like that is really reinforced to me the importance of being present and being there, shaking hands, trying to foster we're a network at the end of the day, a marketplace. So it's important that we look internally and go, how do we connect better? How do we facilitate trade better? How do we bring people together? So it's all around meeting. That's what we're working on. It's all trying to bring people together, trying to figure out that, can we introduce people that have just got nothing to do with our business to these businesses, like doing stuff off track, actually really trying to help our clients in these ecosystems. So yeah.
And to round us off, if I may, one last question, and you have answered it in some ways, but I want to ask it to you in a slightly different way. What would be the one piece of advice you would give to budding partnerships people starting out? Or the one piece of advice you would give to a business looking to create a strong, long-term partnership?
I think I read this the other day. I don't know if I took it off someone, but I'll take it. I'm going to say it.
Take it.
I'm being honest. I'm not some grand visionary, but I think for me, it's doing your homework. It's, it doesn't matter if you bang the phones 50 times a day to see output. Actually, it can take hours to research and figure out who you want to work with. Minutes, hours. It can take weeks sometimes to figure out how that connects and how you're going to get in there to sort of present your solution or whatever it might be. Take your time, do your homework, and I think that in itself will pay off dividends.
Brilliant.
Well, Alex, that's a perfect place to end. We can't thank you enough for
you
joining
for
us for
having
the
me, mate.
second
Thank
time
you.
on Game Set Match Up. Our pleasure. This time live in Amsterdam at Money20.
Exactly.
Enjoy the rest of the show.
Yes.
Take care,
Thank you
and
very much for
we'll
your
see
time.
you next time somewhere in the world.
Jenny, Greg, thank you. Honestly,
Thank you.
really appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
See you.
Good
Thank you.
afternoon.
Thanks for joining this week's Game Set Matchup. Tune in to hear more about the need to knows and the do's and don'ts when it comes to creating successful business partnerships.